This is Joe Matarese. I got problems, and they need fixing.
I'm afraid, all right?
And you're gonna have to go through hell. Worse than any nightmare that you ever dreamed.
If I can change, and you can change, everybody can change.
You're listening to Fixing Joe. Every week, I'm going to bring my real-life problem to this podcast. My friends, my listeners, my guests, my family, they're all going to help me. And trust me, I need it. I got tons of problems. I'm anxious. I have OCD. I have ADD. I'm narcissistic. I'm insecure. I got anger out the ass. And all of these things come together to ruin my life all the time. I'm hoping this show can help. You're listening to Fixing Joe. Hey, how are you, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to another Fixing Joe. Would you say tuning in? If it's just a podcast, I guess you would say tuning in, listening in, downloading. I appreciate you. Thanks so much. I'm here a little late night, a little Wednesday late night, just doing the beginning of the podcast. I already recorded my guest. I actually had a guest for today's podcast. You probably saw his name in the title, the great Jake Johannsen, one of my favorite comedians. He's a little older than me, so I do remember watching him many times growing up. I guess Tonight Show, Letterman's. Geez, he's been on Letterman like 40 to 50 times. I know it's somewhere in that range. I've had him on the podcast maybe a couple of years ago. I remember recording it at Levity Live in the green room there. He was kind enough to do my podcast then, and he's kind enough to do it today. I appreciate you, Jake Johannsen. What plugs do we have before we get to my guest? I want to plug this date I have at the great Club of the Laughing Skull in Atlanta, Georgia. I'll be there this week, the 22nd through the 25th in Atlanta, Georgia, the Laughing Skull. I think it's LaughingSkullLounge.com if you want to come out and get tickets to that. That's where you go, okay? And, of course, I will be opening for Bill Burr at the Wells Fargo Center on November 6th in Philadelphia, where I started comedy. Pretty cool. Full circle. Hopefully they like me. Scary when you're opening for somebody and it's that many people, you know, because I've had some tough shows in the past. It was usually when I was opening for Artie Lang, when the Howard Stern show was something he was doing daily. And sometimes you would get the fans that just didn't want any openers. They just want Artie. And I know Bill Burr's fans would be a little bit different than that. And hopefully they're fine with an opening act. So buy tickets to that at the Wells Fargo Center, November 6th. Something new that I'm offering you Fixing Joe fans is more than just the 2 CDs that I've offered for donations. Now, if you make a $20 donation on JoeMatarese.com is where you make the donations. You make a $20 donation to my podcast. You get 2 of my CDs for free. You get Disconnected, my last stand-up album, and you also get When a Comedian Attacks, which is all hecklers before I was on Celexa, the anti-anxiety medication I'm on. You get those 2 albums and a pair of Tweaked Audio earbuds. As you know, they're a sponsor for the podcast. If you want to get a 30% discount to anything Tweaked Audio sells, go to tweakedaudio.com, TWEEKED, tweakedaudio.com. You put Fixing Joe in the promo code window, and you get a 30% discount off of all their merchandise. Okay? So you make a $20 donation, you get those 2 CDs and the earbuds. If you make a $30 donation, you also get my Fixing Joe album, which was the CD album that I did before Disconnected. If you donate $40, you get every CD I've ever done. You get 4 CDs. You get Quiet Please, which is the first CD I ever did. I recorded it at Stand Up New York. Fixing Joe is recorded at Go Bananas in Cincinnati, Ohio, and Disconnected is I think it's also recorded at Go Bananas in Cincinnati, Ohio. It is. And When Comedian Attacks, of course, is all different clubs all over the place. So make those donations. Of course, you get the earbuds also with all those CD orders. Okay? Do it. Help me out. Get all 4 of my CDs. I will send you all the downloads for those. Okay? Cool. Other than that, I want to get right to the interview with Jake Johannsen. Let me look at my list to see if there's anything that I didn't get to really talk about with Jake that was on my list. I didn't get to talk about this because I knew he wouldn't give a shit. But one of the fans who listens to the podcast and follows me on Twitter. Oh, that's what I need to plug. Also, we need to get that Twitter up to 10,000 for me to be able to sell my special. Right? I think I'm at 9,700 right now. Follow me on Twitter at the Joe Matarese. We have a few weeks to try to get me over the 10,000 mark. Let's get there at the Joe Matarese. Okay. So I didn't get to talk to Jake about this, but someone tweeted saying they were, just slamming me, saying they were sick of the driveway pictures. Does that mean he's sick of me talking about my house projects? I guess he got him on Twitter. I don't know if he watched a Periscope. I definitely Periscoped me doing that whole widening job. Do you guys feel the same way, listeners? Are you annoyed when I talk about my house projects or I tweet about them and I send you a picture? Because you ask. So then I send a picture and then a bunch of people come out slamming me for these pictures. Let me know. Matarese67 at gmail.com is my email. Let me know if you feel the same way. Okay? That was all I really wanted to get out. I talked about everything else on my list with Jake Johannsen. I didn't really get out a lot about the Eagles being in first place and me thinking they suck because Jake wasn't really a football fan. But I'll say this real quick. I mean, let's be honest. I'm not excited. They're in first place. They're not very good. Sam Bradford threw 3 interceptions. Come on. I just don't think they're that great. They're, they're not good. If they played the Green Bay Packers or they played Cincinnati or they played the New England Patriots, they would get destroyed, especially if it was an important game like a playoff game. They would get killed. Okay? That's just what I wanted to say in a quick summary. I did a long Periscope a few days ago going on and on. It was the morning after Monday Night Football, talking all about the Eagles. I don't know if you saw that. Follow me on Periscope too, because you can watch all those things. So let's get to the interview. Jake Johannsen Skyped in from Santa Monica, California. I know he lives a few blocks from the beach. And let's get to that interview, everybody. All right? We'll be right back. Well, thanks for taking the time out to do the podcast again. This is the second time you've been on. I'm trying to think how long ago we did it. A long time,
because that was at Levity. We were both working at Levity Live. Remember, up in West Nyack?
Yeah, I remember. We did it in the green room there.
I haven't been back. Have you been back to West Nyack?
No. I've been there. I'm there here and there because that club's like
it's right by you.
It's 30 minutes away. I moved since you probably did it. I live a little closer to New York City. But, yeah, that was, maybe it was 2 years ago. Does that sound about right?
I think that sounds right.
And you haven't been back there, and you don't know why. Have you done
Gotham?
And then have you done...
Yeah.
Well, it's the same owner.
Yeah, it is, but they got their mathematics of who they have in, and, maybe these young kids that work for peanuts.
Yeah. I'm the same as you. Well, I'm old and I'll work for peanuts. You'll just not take the date.
I feel like for peanuts, I'd rather do a gig where there's 150 people who all paid for a ticket than a weekend where there's 2,000 people that they gave away free tickets who don't know. First I got to teach them who I am. Then I got to teach them what a comedy show is. And then we're kind of done.
Right. So, we'll talk some subjects on my. I stopped having a lot of guests on my podcast, but I have.
It's hard to get guests.
Yeah, I just stopped even trying to get guests. I was like, I'm doing them by myself, but I have this guy who's helping me produce my podcast now, and he's doing a really good job. And I guess he
texted me. He's not as he reached out to me to do your podcast, but then. There was a lot of back and forth, and then I wasn't sure whether we booked it. And he was like, "Hey, just FYI, it's on for tomorrow." And I'm like, "Okay, well, how do we do it?" And then he sends me your Skype handle, and then he goes, "Oh, on second thought, Joe's doing Artie Lang's thing, so he can't do it." It's like, look, I like Joe, and I cleared the decks because I thought you knew what Joe was doing, but you don't know. I don't know about this guy.
I can't tell if I miscommunicated with him or not. I do remember.
We're here now.
We are here now. But there was a moment where I went, "What? 1 o'clock? I'm going to be at Artie's." Like I remember thinking I needed it to be later, and which didn't work for you. So it would have had to be to work for you. It probably would have been at like 11:30 at night, and then I'm flying to Atlanta tomorrow morning. I really wouldn't have wanted to do a podcast at 11:30.
You can't do that. Where are you going to Atlanta? What are you doing?
I'm doing the Laughing Skull.
Yeah, I like that place.
I like it.
That's an example of a place where I feel like they pay fairly. It's small, so you don't make a bunch of money, but the people who are there want to see the show, and you want to do the show.
Yeah.
And you get a delicious burger after every show.
Dude, the food is
so
amazing.
When you're in Atlanta, listeners, please stop by the Laughing Skull to see Joe or I or any of the other. Last time I was there, I got to be in this movie that they did.
I was about to say I saw the trailer today on your Twitter, and I watched it, and I was like, wow. Because I knew that what was cool about the Laughing Skull is that they have that group of guys. They have they have the people listening. This comedy club owner, Marshall's a comedian. He's really cool. He hired a lot of guys that are also comedians and are filmmakers and editors and some animators. I saw a guy who animated something for me once who was in the trailer. So I have a feeling he might have had something to do with writing this movie that you're in. What's it called? That's good that you don't know. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember everything
it must
I do.
Not have paid that well.
It paid zero, Joe.
Zero.
It's like the only people in it are the comedians who are doing the gig, but it's super fun because you get to. They would make up. It was improvised and it was really fun. But yeah, Marshall's running an artist colony. It's like he's doing like an Andy Warhol thing, except there's not drugs and they're not all having sex with each other.
Yeah.
As far as I could tell, maybe they all had sex after I left.
Dude, one of the guy I'm talking about is in the trailer. He has his head shaved. I don't know what his name is. I'm forgetting. I'll probably see him this week when I'm getting there. He was in the trailer. When I worked at the Laughing Skull the last time, he was on a couple of the shows. He was passing a kidney stone backstage. He's going, ah! I mean, this guy, I thought he was going to die. I'm like, you need to go to the emergency room. He took he took heroin or something. It was like a pill. I swear to God, he took heroin and then did a set on it. I was like, how are you able to even go on stage? And then, like an hour later, he comes with this little black dot on his hand. And he goes, this is the kidney stone that I just passed. I mean, I couldn't believe how small it was and how much pain he was in.
No, it's smaller than a BB?
Yeah, it was. It was like a speck. Have you ever passed a kidney stone?
No,
I never
but I guess
to.
they really hurt, and they're not that big.
And you got to do heroin.
Because they're not smooth like a BB either. They got edges on them.
Yes, it had edges. He showed me, and I was like, oh, God damn.
Well, you can get it. Just imagine what it feels like to have some little tiny thing like that in your shoe.
I know.
Like, it hurts when that's in your shoe. Now imagine
peeing it out.
Pee that thing out.
Well,
not good.
Well, yeah. So these guys are like, now they made an official movie. I mean, it looks like a real movie. It's like Chris Frangola's in it.
It is a real movie.
Jim Florentine's in it. Yeah, it looks good. I mean, it looked interesting. So good for Marshall Childs.
Yeah, well, good for all of us.
For all of us doing
good for all of
free
us who
movies. That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Don't you hate when it's funny when you get these gigs now where you have to do something, and if you say no, you're afraid they might never book you again. Like that comes into my head. Like there was, I'm not going to say the name of that. A lot of these clubs have cameras in the back. This happens a lot. They go, oh, we videotaped your whole set. Can we chop it up and we're going to put it on this site? And I'm like, why would I let you?
No, I always say no to that.
So do I.
Yeah, you got to say no to that.
But you're afraid.
That's that rooftop. That's rooftop.
Yeah.
They're terrible.
I was afraid of them.
They're terrible. No, you shouldn't be afraid of them. They should be afraid of you.
Yeah, but then they won't book you.
When rooftop comedy's in charge of whether or not I get booked, I'll find a place where they're not. There's a lot of places where they aren't. Right. Like I can go. This is where my new thing is. I'm doing a tour of just American Legion halls and Elks clubs. I'm going to do neighborhood bar. I'm going back to the neighborhood bar. They got it set up. I'll tell you what. The thing that half the time that they want you to do for free is 5 of the shows. They pay you for one of the shows, and then you do the other 5 shows for free. That's how it seems to me at some of these clubs.
Well, here in the Northeast, that's what most of my gigs are nowadays. Or what you just said, the Elks clubs, the fundraisers, and you probably feel the same. They're the best shows I do. They're better than the comedy clubs.
I did a show in this town called Squim on the Olympic Peninsula. Mm-hmm. Squim. Mm-hmm. That's the name of the town, right? It was in the country club, like the golf course. They sold 100. It was the second time I'd done it. They sold out in 2 days. There's 150, 180 people there. They have the greatest time. And then we all have a drink after the show. It was terrific.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah. I've done a lot
That's
of those.
What I want to do now. I don't need a ton of money, but I need zero headache. I just don't need any more headache. And I don't need, so here's what happened to me today, Joe. I knew I was on your show. I thought I'm not just going to have the whole day just be devoted to this podcast because I feel like I need to get some other things done. So I went to Costco. Uh-huh. I'm getting in the car in Costco. The NPR is on a pledge drive. So I need a CD. I reach in the little, that net bag thing that's on the side of the console. Guess what CD's in there?
Mine.
When Audiences Attack.
When Comedians Attack.
When Comedians Attack. It's like you dealing with these jerks in the crowd. So
and
I was just listening to you on that.
Oh, God.
Because NPR was on pledge break. So I just listened to that today. And it made me feel like, yeah, this is the terrible side of what we do for a living. I don't need some drunk lady who doesn't understand that she's at a show. Like I'm the entertainment at the thing that you bought a ticket to or got a free ticket to. I don't care if you bought the ticket or not. It's a ticket. You got a ticket and you came to this thing. That's me. You have to be quiet. I'm doing the show. You're watching the show. How hard is that to understand?
I was just listening to Mark Maron interview Mike Epps on his podcast just now. Just got out of the car. I was listening to it. And I don't have any of the anger left. I take antidepressants. Like that whole album you heard is probably 5 years and further back before I took medication.
Sure.
It's weird, though, because I don't have that anger anymore, that I really don't have someone heckle me like that anymore.
I don't experience that very often either. Yeah. The worst that it is late at night when just people they won't be quiet. They're just like, you're just too excited.
But when I was angrier, I swear to God, it happened probably every 10th show.
Like, so you feel like you were attracting it?
Yeah, you must. When when anger's on the surface for you, it goes there. You get those people. I don't know what it is. It sets them off.
I believe that. Well, yeah, if you're an angry person, then you may be delivering some subtle angry cues that other people are picking up on, and then they react in anger. Yeah.
Well, Mark Maron was explaining to Mike Epps on the podcast of his that it got me a little angry, and I don't have a lot of the anger left. He was taping a special. And a lady in the middle of it said, "Can I get my picture with you?" Like a drunk lady, tried to come up on stage to take a picture. And I was like,
with Mark Maron.
With Mark Maron in the middle of him with a taping a special. There's cameras and guys with cameras everywhere filming. To do that's just insane. It got me angry. I was like, yep, those are the people that suck. Can you believe that?
But they just don't understand. It's like they're so out of control. I mean, you can't even say that they're selfish. The thing is that they're just out of their own minds. They don't even know what they're doing.
They're just drunk. So let's get to the list of topics for the podcast today. I know.
Okay, right. This is the thing. Your podcast is about me helping you, right?
It's evolved. It's not a
Okay,
lot.
good.
It's not a lot about those situations and stuff. That's kind of what it probably was when I did it with you. Now it's more just like I talk about what happened in my life that week.
Okay.
And some of it is a problem that could have advice from you, and other stuff isn't. And I talk. I'm sure what happens in your life will come up. I don't know if are you a football fan?
Joe, I'm a heterosexual, and I can watch sports and enjoy them. Not that that's purely a heterosexual thing, but I'm not driven by sports, and I can't. My wife is not, and so we don't really. I'll watch sports. If I'm on the road and you say, hey, we're going to spend the afternoon watching this game, I'll watch it with you, and I'll have a great time. But otherwise, I don't know what's going on. I'll tell you what I do want to see is the Rugby World Cup, because the All Blacks, that's the New Zealand team, is playing the...
They're called the All Blacks?
Yeah, they're
that's
called
the name
All
of the
Blacks.
team?
Yeah, they were all black. They were all black.
What
but they're called
country
the
is
All
it?
Blacks. New Zealand.
It's New Zealand team. Oh, wow.
Yeah. So but they're playing on Saturday morning. Yeah, the All Blacks. When you wear the shirt around, and it's got an Adidas logo, so it'll say All Blacks, and then right above that it'll say Adidas. So it's like a real sports shirt. But sometimes when you're going through airport security with that on, people are like, hey, what? But that's their team.
Do you have the shirt? Like you want? Seriously?
I
Do you
have
own
an All
one?
Blacks shirt, and I have an All Blacks hat. I wish I had it. I didn't think to have it handy right now. Oh, here you can see that. There's the poster of their. Can you see that on my door?
I see it. Yeah, All Blacks.
Yeah, that's their haka. That's their Maori war dance that they do.
It's
before
funny
the game.
because there's probably not a lot of black people in New Zealand. It's kind of like a. I'm just.
Well, I mean, what are you complaining about? They're all black. I mean, you can't really get mad about that, can you?
So rugby is the sport you would pick if I said, Jake, what's the sport that you like to sit down and watch and follow? You would say rugby.
I don't think I could watch just any rugby, but I do like to watch the All Blacks because I root for them, and it's to me it's a fun sport because it's almost slapstick. The physicality. It's like football. They go running.
Oh, I know what it is.
It's sort of like they're playing. 1 second you think they're playing soccer, and then they run and crash into each other, and then fight wrestle for the ball, and then it comes shooting out, and then one of them kicks it to someone else, and then they fight wrestle him, and they don't have any pads, and they just slam into each other so hard, and they're giants, muscular dudes.
Yeah, this guy from Ireland who used to be my plumber when I lived in my old house, he played rugby, and he had four boys. They all played rugby, and it's one of those sports that you don't want to fuck with that guy if he plays rugby. That's just a sport. He doesn't care if you punch him in the mouth really hard. He'll probably just smile and then beat the shit out of you.
They're working out stuff.
Yeah,
those guys.
Well, I was gonna bring up the Philadelphia Eagles, but you
I have a friend who's an Eagles fan, and I like Philadelphia. Philadelphia's a tough town. They're not kidding around in Philadelphia.
No, that's where I'm from, right outside of Philly, so I follow them. But they've been so bad this year. And it's like depressing. Like they're literally in first place and they suck. That's how bad.
Well, wait, how can you be in first place and suck?
Because they're in the. Well, I'll explain it to you as a non-football guy.
The rest of the division is even more sucky.
Yeah, well, they're tied for first. They're 3-3. They everyone in the NFC East is what they're in. Sucks. Mm-hmm. And then you see these other teams like the Patriots and the Green Bay Packers. I mean, they're insanely good. So, like, it makes me not even want to watch because I'm like, what's the point? I know if they get anywhere, they're eventually going to have to play one of these actually good first-place teams and get destroyed. So I'm just not really into it. But they just beat the Cowboys or not the Cowboys, the Giants on Monday Night Football, and maybe we can use this as a. I don't know if you have a daughter.
Yes.
Now, I have this thing. My son's funny. Like, he won't root for the team that I like, and he'll say to me, "Well, why should I like the Eagles, Dad? I live in New York." And like, I'm not one of those dads that goes, "No, you like what Dad likes. You're an Eagles fan." Like, I'm not that guy. I'm like, all right, I like the Giants. Like, okay, I get it. You live in New York. You're probably right. I almost think I shouldn't like the Philadelphia team anymore because I've been living in New York for more than I lived in Philadelphia. I've been here 25 years.
Well, I've heard a lot about your son, but I don't know him. You're my friend. I want to be clear about that. But he's talking a lot of sense.
Yeah, he makes
your
sense.
Son. Yeah, right. I feel like I've got a friend who got me into baseball when I was, in my 20s. I wasn't a fan of baseball when I was a kid. And then I got into it when I was in my 20s when I lived in San Francisco. And then I came down here and I was a Giants fan until I kind of went off baseball a little bit. But he came to L.A., he became an Angels fan, and then they were all about the Angels, he and his daughter, but then they moved to Massachusetts. Now they're Red Sox fans,
So I don't realize that happens. I guess because Philly's so dominant that like my brother told me that he's taking me out of the will. That was the text I got because I was rooting for the Mets because they're in the playoffs. I live in New York, and he goes, they're in our division. I'm like, well, the Phillies are out of it. They're out of it. So what is the problem? I don't understand. If my team's out of it and I root for someone in our division, I think that's fine.
It's a gangster mentality these people are trying to put on you, Joe. You've got to separate yourselves from them. It's not healthy. I mean, come on. He's going to write you out of the will because you rooted for a different team? How much do you need the money? Do you need the money? I would go, I don't think you're going to write me out of the will for that.
Yeah.
I'm a person. I'm rooting for the team that's by my house. I got a child. I can't afford to fly to Philly with my kid to go see a game in a stadium where probably my child's going to witness a crime while we're going to buy a hot dog.
It's true.
Right?
Well, if he tried, if my son would wear his Giants shirt or hat or whatever to an Eagles Giants game in Philly, my 8-year-old son might get close to getting his ass kicked. Like, that's how crazy it is. Yeah,
he's going to get a free battery. That's for sure. They're going to throw a battery at him. Well, do they still do that, Joe? Throw batteries at people?
They probably do. I remember they're famous for throwing snowballs at Santa Claus. That's what they're famous for, the Eagles fans. They just pelted the shit out of Santa.
Yeah. That's not the real Santa. I just want to point out that Santa that's at the football game, that's not the real Santa. That's a person that they hire. So, I mean, I'm not coming to the aid of the fans. I think it's a shitty thing to do to even throw a snowball at the guy who's just trying to make a living pretending to be Santa. But it would be a whole nother thing if you were throwing a snowball at the real Santa.
You just exude of California. I just feel it. Like, you can just feel.
Do you think so?
As I'm talking to you, I can because I've been to your house, so that might give it away. I know you're near the beach. You can just see the hey, whatever. There's a game. I don't really want to watch. It's weird how the mentality in New York it is different.
I was going to go to this bar. There's a British bar here to watch the Rugby World Cup when New Zealand's playing on Saturday morning at 8 in the morning here in California. That's why I have to go to the bar at 8 in the morning to watch it. But I read online that it's going to be they're charging a $20 cover to watch. I'm not going to go to a bar to watch pay $20 cover for $17 more. I can just buy the pay-per-view in my house.
Well, I was about to say the only way it should cost $20 is if it's a pay-per-view, but that sounds like that's what it is. It's pay-per-view,
but I mean, come on, really? You can't just pony up for the bar. Who else is going to be in there drinking at 8 in the morning? It's all gravy. Plus, you got to make $20.
I bet those rugby fans are nuts. I bet they have a line at 8 in the morning. I bet, especially if it's hard to get on TV. Where do you pay-per-view that? Just normal pay-per-view? Rugby?
I got an email to click. I think that game is actually on NBC.
Really?
I think that game might because it's a semifinal, and I think it's on NBC. So there may not be a cover.
I wouldn't even know what the hell's happening if I was watching. I know there's kind of a weird goalpost that's narrow, and there's just guys with shorts and long sleeve shirts, right?
Yeah, it's sort of you got to break the plane with the ball to score, but they don't call it a touchdown. They call it a try. It's like they scored a try.
Yeah.
They're like, nice try. And they got a try, nice try.
And it's a high-scoring game, right?
No, it's pretty low-scoring. And then, so it's six for a try, and then you get to kick an extra point, which is 1, or if you run it across, it's 2. So that's similar to football. But then the rest is different because it's, there's no breaks. It just kind of keeps going. They hardly stop the clock. And if you come out, you're out. So guys are just running around, bashing into each other, bleeding, like their noses will start bleeding. They'll just stuff some rag in there because once you come out, you don't get subbed back in. You're out. It's like baseball. You play until you're out, and then you're out.
Oh man, you get some small little injury, you can't go fix it and come back. You're done.
Yeah. Oh, he's opened the claret. Claret's red wine, and that's some guy get hit in the nose, and he'll start just gushing blood, and they go, "Oh, he's tapped the claret."
Oh, so that's what they say, and then you have.
Yeah.
So these guys stay in, all banged up.
If they can stop the blood from going, yeah, they stay in.
How do they stop the? What does someone run out? Can someone throw them a rag? I mean, what happens?
I think they can get thrown a rag, or I think if you start bleeding, they'll let you take a little time out to see if you can get that stopped. We don't need you bleeding on everybody else.
And is there halftime, or it just plays straight through?
There is halftime. Yeah, there is halftime. They do stop the clock for a couple of things. It's not like soccer where it keeps rolling and then they have that mystery overtime at the end.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
Yeah.
So here's the second subject on my list. This just happened. Did this happen? No, it didn't happen last night. It happened Monday night. I do like, I call them city spots. I live in the burbs, but it's a 25-minute drive. I do spots. I'm sure you do the same. Do you drive in ever to the Improv and do like a set?
Sometimes. I'm on the road enough. I've been trying to do more of those because I feel like they're good for me, both comedy-wise, because you're performing for some kind of different types of crowds, and mental health-wise, because you're hanging out with more of your peers on your level. When you're on the road, you meet a lot of great guys, and I have met a lot of great guys who have gone on to then be big national names on the road. But that hanging out, the city spots are fun hangout time. So you're doing a city spot.
You just made me think of this as just a side note. My wife gets mad when there's those guys that like opened for you years ago, and then all of a sudden they become a household name. She gets upset.
Yeah. Well, you know what? She needs to check her diploma. She's a therapist, Joe.
I know. My wife doesn't do therapy, but she is a psychologist. But
does she know that we're all going to get old and die, and that some people are at a point in their career where they're taking off, and other people are at a point where they've kind of reached their altitude and they're cruising, and then there's wind down later on in your life, and you can't always tell where you are in your cycle, but other people are being successful and you're their friend. There's nothing wrong. That's not bad. That's good.
She gets upset when it's someone that we both thought was like terrible. Like it's someone that we go, hey guys, this person sucks, and then somehow they get famous. She actually said this recently. I said something like, this girl comic we know just got this writing job for some new show on HBO. And my wife literally goes up. She goes.
This happens all the time.
I know. I got the same ringer.
Yeah.
She goes
the best ringer.
My wife goes, of course she got a writing job. She knows you. Like everyone I know gets better things than me. I go, that hurt a little bit. Okay, so this happens at this comedy club Monday night.
Okay.
Now, there's this club in the city. We get a lot of certain clubs here in New York City will be 100% tourists. And when I say 100% tourists, most of them are from not in the United States. And a lot of them, English is their second or third language. And you get a lot of these.
That seems like a silly place to do comedy, Joe, but okay.
Yeah. But
are those people are never going to become established Americans and then buy a ticket to your show later? Or are you planning a trip to Yabi Dabi or wherever they're from?
Well, no. I mean,
that's not racist because I don't know where they are from, so I'm allowed to make up a silly country name like that. But by the way,
but as a comedian, do you ever get like, I should be able to make all people laugh, even like, okay, they speak English, they're following me, but you'll hit those moments and you don't realize it till you're already at it in the joke. They don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
they don't know who Ray Rice is. They don't know there was an incident.
Yeah, I'm going to need to get brought up to speed on Ray Rice a little bit, but okay.
Yeah, he's a football player.
I knew he was a football player.
He was the one who
the one who punched out his wife?
Yeah, and drug her out of the elevator.
Yeah. I like to be given a chance to guess before you tell me, just for future, in the rest of this conversation.
Well, this is what happened. It has nothing to do with them not getting me or anything. This was more just my risky mistake and me maybe being in a bad zone. Every once in a while I go in and do these city spots, and if I don't have new material to try and I'm doing my old material, I'll feel like a piece of shit where I don't enjoy doing the material I've already crafted. It's like I'd rather do stuff that I don't know where it goes, but then you have a bad set most of the time. That's what happens.
I feel like you start off doing the stuff that you're working on, and then you go to the things that work, so that in the whole, by the end, you've entertained them.
Yeah, I got the stupid Louis C.K. in my head that we throw away all the old material and we start fresh because I just taped the special, but I'm not at the place where I have a whole new hour. Like tomorrow, flying into Atlanta, I was there a year ago, and I hate when I get somewhere and I'm like, I don't have a whole new hour. One of the reasons is, man, I must have ADD today. But one of the reasons why is I actually taped an album there a year ago, but we ended up not releasing it. So I had to save all the material, and then when I taped a special, I did it. And that was about 7 months ago. So really, I've only been working on new material for 7 months. I don't have an hour. I have about 25 minutes maybe, which is pretty decent. But I'll be a little in my head at the Laughing Skull doing some of the older stuff that they're gonna be like, he doesn't have all new. You shouldn't. Do you have all new in a year later when you go to a club?
That's not how normal people turn their acts over. A whole new hour every year. Louis C.K. has to do that. Bill Burr has to do that. But that's not a real world thing. The people at the Laughing Skull, you want to do a good show for them, not all, hey, here's some things that you haven't heard that aren't so good. You want to, they're not all going to have seen you before either.
That's true.
You know?
That would be amazing if it was all the same exactly. You'd be a huge draw if that happened.
Louis C.K. sold out Madison Square Garden, I think, 4 shows. And the Laughing Skull seats 95 people.
Well, you know what's funny, and that you said Bill Burr, is I'm doing the Laughing Skull. What's it seat, 80?
I think it's 95, but I could be wrong.
The following week, I'm opening for Bill Burr in Philadelphia, my hometown. I asked him if I could be on that show. He's doing at the Wells Fargo Center where the Sixers and the Flyers play. There'll be between 12 and 15,000 people. I've never done that big. So I'll have from 80 to 15,000. It's pretty funny. I already thought that was like hilarious.
I think it's funny. Well, that's comedy. That's stand-up comedy. I mean, we're always going from one weird extreme to another weird extreme. I'll tell you something. If I was deciding which show I wanted to see, I'd rather go see a good show in a 95 seat room than a good show in a 10,000 seat room.
Oh, sure, it's going to be
a
ridiculous.
No-brainer.
Yeah, my parents I had to let them buy tickets. I didn't even want to ask Bill to comp my family. My mom, my dad, and my brother and sister are coming, and they're sitting in the last row of the place because that was
by the time you pay the popcorn vendors and the parking lot attendants, he probably is making just right about the same as what you're making for the Laughing Skull.
God.
You know,
you try to not think about it in your head, but I'm like, he might make $1 million that night. Well, maybe not that night unless they add a second show on. He might be making $500,000. He might be making $500,000. Doing the math, I mean, 15,000 seats, but whatever. So let's
get back to your city.
So this is what happens at the Broadway Comedy Club. That's
the one where you're in Times Square and there's guys trying to give you free tickets to it.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So this girl goes on before me, who's like, I'm not sure if you've experienced this yet, but it seems like in the last year and a half, I've experienced it a couple times where there's like a transgender type comedian where you can't tell, is this a guy turning into a girl? Is this a girl turning into a guy? Is this just a lesbian? Like, you don't know. Now, this girl went on stage, and I had never witnessed this where I can't tell if she's a girl or a guy, and I can't tell by listening to her if she's a girl or a guy. She sounds like a girl and a guy at the same time and looks like a girl and a guy. And she's an African American girl, right? And she was funny,
or guy,
and she was funny. And she went up there, and her first joke was something like, "I know what you're thinking," and she just kind of paused, and I think maybe the punchline was, "I'm black," something like that. And so I go on after her, and I don't know if this is the world we're in now, or people they get so easily like, oh. But I went on after, and I just said, I opened with, "I know what you're thinking. I'm a guy, and I said something like I like vagina or something like that. Like just like what I'm a guy and I like women. I'm married. I try to keep it going, and they got so uncomfortable that I had a bad set.
Do you think it was that you just got on the wrong side of their politically incorrect sort of filter thing?
It was one of
political.
Those, I don't know if you have this happen. My wife will say it too, because my wife was at my special, and she said I wasn't completely off of it, but my likability, my nice guy, sometimes comes out as asshole. Like, I don't even know why. Like, I'll be a likable guy, and she's like, you're so funny when you're just in a good mood and being likable. And then there's this occasional set. And like I said, before the meds, it was every 10th set. And that's probably when I would get the heckler. But like in my head, I kind of knew as I was saying this about the person who went on before me. Like I would tell any comedian, don't address the comedian before you, like unless you got something nice and funny. If you're saying something like about a transgender person, like it kind of sounds like you're an asshole. Like you're not accepting of her. Like what is your problem? Like I was almost
you only want to talk. The only time I ever want to refer to somebody before me is if I have something clever to add that then is like, hey, you can have that joke next time if you want it, or it's some like it turns out I'm the butt of the joke that they just told, they tell some story about somebody who does some terrible thing. And then I go up and do some reveal that I'm that guy. I'm that jerk, but you want to be self-deprecating. You don't want to be, and you definitely don't want to be criticizing them. We're all in the same fraternity, but it seems like from what you said, you accidentally got interpreted as though you criticized this person, but you didn't really do it. That was not your intention. It
wasn't my intention, but I think I did do it. Like almost as I was saying it, there was a little voice in the back of my head going, "Don't say this. This isn't nice."
Do you think this is that turning? This is like you're just turning old. This is the version of my dad going like, "There's a lot of black people in here." Like Dad.
It could be. Yeah. That's funny that my dad does it. My mom. Oh my God, she listens to my podcast sometimes, but she'll say. We took her to see fireworks where we live. Where we live borders up against the Bronx. And, Westchester, just below Westchester is the Bronx. There are a lot of Spanish-speaking people that live. There's a lot of Spanish-speaking people that live in Westchester also. And my mom can't not say it. When we go to see fireworks, she's like, "Are we in America?" That's what she said. I'm like, "Yeah, we are." We are.
America is a melting pot, Joe, and we are just the white meat in the melting pot. There's a lot of other meat in the melting pot.
Yeah, she can't not say it. I definitely have that trait where it's like I try to not say it, but I can't. I'm told that's an ADD trait, by the way, saying things that are a little inappropriate and out of line. Maybe that's why it came out of my mouth at my set.
Yeah, could be. Are you recovered from it? Do you feel better now?
I feel, well, yeah, I've done a couple of shows since, so it's kind of out of me. But I'm wondering, because you and I are pretty, like, nice guys when we're on stage. We're not edgy and mean. Like a Bill Burr might be a little tougher and he says some aggressive things, and that's what's funny about him, because that's true to how he is.
Yeah, every once in a while I'll get into trouble for doing something that was completely unintentional, but I think most of the time I can get out of it because the audience is like... I'll be able to say, look, that wasn't my intention.
Right. Well, it's like, it's funny because you asked who Ray Rice was. And
I did know who he was, though. I didn't have it in my mind. But then I was getting it right before you said it. Yeah.
It's also interesting because I remember that night when I made the comment about that girl. Then I went into a joke that's edgy, that if I'm not being likable me, this joke's not going to work.
Right.
And I shouldn't have done that joke either. And I did that second, which is about the Ray Rice and domestic violence. And I have a joke about there was a viral video. I don't know if you saw it. And I left it in my special. And this was a bit I wasn't sure if I should leave in my special because it's about hitting women. My wife once thought I should take it out, but I'm like, I like it. I don't know why I like some of those.
Is your special going to be on TV, or is it a $5 download, or is it? My last special was $5 download.
I don't know.
It's called Pictures of My Dinner, everybody, and you can get it at my website, jakethis.com. Okay, now back to you, Joe.
It depends if it sells or not. I had investors, and now we're going to try to. My management will take it around and see if they can sell it. Hopefully, it's not a download. Hopefully we can sell it because I'm gonna.
Oh, you're saying hopefully what happened to me doesn't happen to you?
Well, did you have investors that you have to pay back, or did you pay for it yourself? Then
my wife. My wife was It's me and my wife. We spent our money. Right. We invested in ourselves.
Okay.
But so I'm on the hook. I'm mad at myself. That's how. At least you have other people who are mad at you. That's a good feeling because you don't have to be both people. Like, I'm pissed that I frittered away my money, but then also, I frittered away somebody else's money.
Did you try to sell it to a network?
I did, and I don't know what happened. I know that Showtime has changed how many specials they bought, or had changed. This was last year, or the beginning of this year, whatever. I'm
probably in for a big uphill battle to sell a special. Is pretty hard. I know a few guys that are big comedians like you that sell it outright, and it seems like they do all right if you have a big enough fan base selling it yourself.
Yeah. Well, it could be that I didn't have those 10,000 Twitter followers that you need.
You need to get them.
I gotta get them. I'm gonna. But I feel like
I'll tell you the joke though. So
this is it. That's what I was going to say. So what is the joke that you followed up with?
So I follow up with this joke about this viral video, and I don't want to explain the joke that's before it, but the joke is a lot about just a video game system that was used that we gave my kid as a birthday present. Our friends of ours gave us this old system, and I wrapped it up and gave it to him. Like, the joke is how I rewrapped it and gave it to him. And I go, it was obviously old. It came with Madden 09. Now you have to know football to get the joke, which is, probably not a good Broadway comedy club's not the place to do it. They're all foreign, and I'm doing a joke about how it had Ray Rice when he was a good boyfriend, and Adrian Peterson when he was a really great dad. Now, Adrian Peterson was in the news last year for hitting his kid very excessively, and I think they suspended him for a while. And same with Ray Rice. Both of them are eligible to play again, but Adrian Peterson is playing again, but no one picked up Ray Rice. He's still out. So then the second part of the joke is about this viral video where this kid, he's like an 18-year-old boy. He's on the subway, and this girl's literally swinging at him, like almost hitting him and just verbally abusing him. And he's taking it in the video. He's just kind of almost getting hit, and she's just kind of yelling in his face. And then you see her swing a little harder and hit his phone, and it flies out of his hand and goes shooting across the subway floor. And he just looks at her, and you literally in the video see a switch click, and he just swings at her full boat, like hard open hand, but full swing. And then all these guys try to stand up and like fight this guy, because they think it's out of line that he's hitting a woman. And basically on stage, the joke is I don't think men should be able to hit women, but we should be able to hit one total bitch a year. And then I tell them this bitch story about this woman who waited for me after a show once with these really long fingernails, just yelling at me, and she flicks cigarette ashes in my eyes. Mm-hmm. And then I go, and I should be able to hit her. And then, and then I say, wait, what's the punchline of the joke? I go, you have a Jiffy Lube sticker in your wallet. It shows, keeps track of your bitch hits. And you just go, hey, easy, guys, easy. It's okay. It's been 13 months. I was due, So it's weird when I'm being likable, as mean as that joke sounds, I can get it to kill all the way through. And when I say I want to hit one bitch, you should be able to hit one bitch a year, they'll actually, in my special, it gets like a full applause break, because it's like I describe it in the way like this guy's getting punched in the face by a girl and he can't hit her back because she's a girl. I disagree. Like, maybe that's just how I should say the joke. And I'm not
sure I can fix this one, Joe, because it seems a little tricky. This is a high degree of difficulty, this joke.
Right.
You got to get it. You got to get them right. Like you said, they have to be on board with you and your point of view. But in that story that you told about the kid on the subway, I definitely feel like, look, you can screw with the guy to a certain point, and then once you cross the line, it's like, look, this is the reason it's not okay to hit people,
Right.
because they might hit you back.
Right.
You want to do unto others how you want them to do unto you, but you can't kind of punch somebody and then get mad because they hit you.
Right. Exactly.
Right?
Now, have you ever been punched by a woman in your lifetime?
I can't think of it, but I'm not a punchy guy. I don't get in fights.
When you were young, never. Did you never
I
had
think
a drunk
I got it
woman
when I was a
swing at
little
you
kid. I might have got in a fight, but I don't think. Maybe I was also sort of a pussy, but I wasn't. I never felt like I was going to win. So if you don't think you're going to win a fight, you try not to get into a fight. You try not to even be the guy who, and usually it's that other guys who want to fight, they want you to hit them first so that they feel like they got the green light to do whatever they want. It's like, well, I'm going to just keep walking away in that situation.
Well, once again, it's before the medication. There were instances. A lot of my hecklers back when I was angry were women.
Well, a lot of that, listening to that CD, you threaten physical violence a lot. Like, I want to kick your head off, or I want to punch you, or all this other stuff. And it's like, nut. The reality is you don't really want to do those things, because if you do those things, there's going to be legal. As soon as you punch someone and hurt them, they're going to go lawyer up and sue your ass, even if they hit you first.
Well, it's amazing. As bad as my anger was back then, and all that stuff that I would say that was so aggressive, never got in a fight. Like, I was never a fighting guy. It's weird. It would just on stage happen. I'd walk off stage and then feel horrible. Like, it wouldn't continue where I'm like, where is he? I'm going to punch him in the face. Like, that never happened. It was weird how it all dropped out as soon as I said goodnight. Like, I just felt like crawling in a hole, and I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed of myself. Thank God. Because that was fucking
thank
ugly.
God you got that pill.
Maybe I should get rid of that album. It sells bigger than anything I have. That CD, if I sell it after shows, they want it.
But you start off talking about everybody. That's everybody's favorite question is, what do you do about hecklers? Like, I've got a CD called the CD that's called my website, the JakeThis.com CD, and that's got some alternative tracks, which are the same tracks that are earlier on the CD, but it's a different show. And so someone in the audience and I are having a little conversation in the middle of doing the bit, and it turns out it's not like heckler meanness, but it's interaction and
right.
So it's a
funny.
different version.
It's like
of
you ad lib around your material.
You ad lib a little bit, but it's like, that's everybody wants to know about what's it like when you get heckled, or what's it like when this happens. And mostly it doesn't happen that often.
Right.
And most of the time it's not mean. They're not mean.
Right. Well, that's that album that you have. That's why I did try to put. There's a few of the mean ones, but I would say there's more of the ones where I'm trying to save it with funny in the situation.
Yeah. Or you're slow to anger. You're the guy who's like, look, I don't want to pull. Don't make me. We're not going to draw. I don't want to draw. I don't want to.
Oh, God. Thank God that guy's in a headlock in my brain somewhere. He's gone. I don't like him. What else is on this list? Need new material. It says that.
Well, that's going to happen.
I can talk about my anniversary. It's not really a problem. But
how many years?
10-year anniversary.
I just went 13.
I'm very bad at planning events for like anniversaries and stuff. Are you good at gift giving or any of that?
Well, we were both sick, so it was pretty low key, and I flew home from a gig that day, and so it was just like, we just made it through. We had a nice family dinner. But I feel like with the presents now, I'm at a point with my wife where it's just like, you tell me, either go and get what you want, and then you deserve a present if you want it, or tell me what it is, I'll go get it. But I've had too many experiences of, I'll buy a present, and I had to say to my wife, she'll go, you don't even just get me something so that you have something to give me? And I go, well, because if I do that, then you want the receipt and you take it back. So that doesn't feel good. I know that I can't get you things that you like. And so me making a special effort to go and get you a present that then you have to make the effort to take back, it feels crappy to me. So why don't we take out the part where I feel crappy and skip to the part where you get what you want and it's my fault, you know?
We didn't even buy each other anything for our 10-year. We just went and did something fun, and then
That's
we went
the
out
best
to
way to
eat.
do it.
And then my mother-in-law watched our kids overnight, and we actually slept in our house with no kids there for the night. And it was
that's
perfect.
Nice. That's nice.
It's fun. When you talk about gift giving, I don't know if you ever had one of these. I bought my wife. I think I spent more than I should have spent one year. I don't remember what anniversary it was or if it was her birthday, but I bought her a gift certificate for this yoga studio, and she never used it. And then the place went out of business, and we just lost $250. I was just like, this sucks. That's ridiculous.
Mistake.
Why did you not use it? It got me kind of mad because I kept saying, you're going to use that? And she'd be like, I'm going to. And then they went out of business. And then, like, I'm a jerk for saying anything. Like, I told you. It wasn't like it was at the Gap. You know, it was some mom and pop yoga studio.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Gift certificates. I just feel like you just give them cash. Just give them cash. Just hand them. Here's $100. You're doing a great job. Here's $100.
One last thing, and then I'll let you get out of here. I know you have stuff to do, but this is the same subject, just a piece of it that I left out, which was, I think, one of the reasons why we had a great anniversary. And I didn't really have to try to do it, but it's amazing how if I just do this, I have a great time with my wife, which is ask a lot of questions about her job and have her, you know, really be engaged with me and learning. Like, and I've done it like 3 or 4 days in a row now, and I'm going to sound like such a shitty guy that I should just do it every day. It's amazing how there's things that you know can make your wife happy every day, and you'll do them 4 days in a row, and then you'll go back to not doing them again. I don't know if you have anything like that with your wife, but mine is just listen. Like, 'cause my wife studies Alzheimer's disease. I mean, it's pretty intellectual when she's explaining what she did in a day. It's not like she's.
Oh, I'm curious about that. My wife's father's got Alzheimer's right now, but that's beside the point. When we're done with the podcast, at some other point, when we're just being friends, you know, we can have that conversation.
Sure.
But I definitely think here's the thing that I say about my wife. When I come home from being out of town on the road, which happens a lot, the first thing my wife wants to do, she doesn't want to hear what I've been up to or what happened to me in some strange city where I may have run into a famous person or had some weird show or sold out or made our mortgage or whatever. She wants to tell me when I first get home, I need to be quiet so she can tell me all the things that happened at home with her and our daughter. And then sometimes we're out of time and she doesn't have time to listen to me until the next day, or maybe never. Maybe it's just like she doesn't, you know, but I have a job where I get to tell people all about what happened to me. So I'm okay with that.
Right.
And then when my wife goes out of town, if she takes once a year, she'll go to New York for a week and see some shows and go see her friends. Then when she comes home, she wants me to be quiet so she can tell me about all the things that she did while she was away. And she doesn't, you know, maybe when she's done, she wants to hear about what our daughter and I did while she was gone. But sometimes no, she's not interested in that. When after we're separated, she likes to tell me what happened to her while we were apart. And that's just how she is. And it's sort of, for a while, it bugged me because it seemed like it was super selfish. But then when I jokingly said, here's how you do, you know, this way, you want it this way when I'm gone, and then you want it this way when you're gone, and it's always you want to talk about your thing. And she was like, yeah, that's how I am. And so I guess once you realize that they really want to tell you about what's going on with them in their day, I guess the best thing to do is just listen. I mean, my job is to get to talk to audiences and tell them what's going on with my day. And so I do get that part of me satisfied through that. But it is a little frustrating sometimes.
But haven't you noticed that if you do listen to your wife for a very long amount of time about her day and everything that you missed, that when she'll have, my wife does this, I don't know if your wife, she'll have a completion part of that, and then she's really engaged in hearing what I did.
It takes a long time though with my wife. If you're waiting, if you're trying to rope a doper, you better, just get on the ropes and keep your arms up because she can go.
Now, are you one of those comedians that struggles with listening and caring about it when she's explaining, or is it
no,
easy for you?
that's the thing. I've got a pretty high threshold for boredom, so I can listen to all of it. It just is. I like to talk too. That's the other thing. We both like to talk, I guess, is the thing. But no, once she's talking, I can ask her questions. Sometimes I've said to her, like, do you know how I ask you questions about this, and then you say something, and then I ask you a question that has to do with what you just said to me? Like, so when I say something to you and then you just say some non sequitur thing to me about dinner, that makes me feel like you don't care what I'm telling you. And so it's okay if that's the case, but that's going to be the reason that I don't tell you anything from now on, because I don't think you care. We've actually had to have that conversation, my wife and I. I know, whose podcast is this? That's what you're thinking.
No, not at all. No, I think we should have started with this conversation, is what I'm thinking, because this is more in the wheelhouse of a Fixing Joe.
But don't go second guessing. This has been a good podcast. I feel like this is a solid effort.
I don't know if you agree with this, but I almost think, I was about to say stand-up comedians, but I probably mean all guys, because mostly regular people listen to the podcast. I find that most single guys that have trouble in relationships are guys that have an inability to do that. They want to just talk, but they can't listen, and they have trouble in a relationship. I know, and comedians forget it. I mean, we talk so much, so if you're that way, I think you're going to be fucked in a marriage. Like, thank God my wife called me on it. Like, I don't know how I was in relationships before. They must have just had maybe their lives were so crazy, the girls I dated before, that I could be really engaged easily, because when they have crazy shit and they're crying, it's easy to really listen. But when it's just day to day, this is what I did at my job, I used to struggle with it. Imagine and then a PhD's job, is like, oh my God, she's telling me about. But it's amazing how. Well, I've been taking Adderall too. I'm on a new drug now. It's like I'm turning into like Bradley Cooper in that Limitless.
What are you on? You're on Adderall?
I take Adderall too for ADD. That's probably helped me in the conversations with her. She can explain all this complex stuff, and it's a little easier. It's a little easier to listen. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like today, right now on the podcast, listeners, because they know I take Adderall. It wore off. It wore off about 2 hours ago. I'm Adderall-less.
So this whole conversation has been without Adderall.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it's been okay.
Could you tell? Could you see when I'm not listening?
No, I can't. But there's a little reflection on your glasses, so I can't really see your eyes that well.
But you could tell. Couldn't you tell if I was not engaged or engaged? Or if I was just talking and not listening?
With these, because this isn't it's a conversation, but it's also a podcast. So we're both trying to kind of keep it rolling,
Right,
So,
right.
so
you're not
so it's not that you're not
level.
listening; it's that we're both kind of listening, and we're also trying to make sure, like, is this a good enough thing to say, or I should be quiet? It seems like he has something good to say. I'm going to let him say a good thing now.
Right.
But anyway, ladies are complicated. Relationships are complicated. These other people, you get into business with other people, and it turns out that they're completely different than you, and they have hopefully you like a lot of the same things, but there's a lot of things that they like that you don't like, and there's a lot of things that you like that they don't like. And so when you're in a relationship, there's a lot of compromising, a bigger part of when you're single, you can do whatever you want sort of all day long. And then once you're married, there's a big part of your life is like, well, I'm not going to do what I want right now because I've got to do what my wife wants, or I've got to do something that all three of us kind of like to do together.
Right. It's like you're part of a team, and you go, what makes this team work the best? Okay.
Right.
Well, it's listening to, when I listen to her and she comes home, as soon as she walks in, I say, what did you do today? How did it go? And if I remember what she said yesterday is huge. Like if I remember that, and then I go, well, what happened? Because, they leave you off. It's like you're watching a TV show. She leaves you off at the end of her job, and then it continued. All right. And she'll get very upset she's like, she has to re-explain. She doesn't like. It's like you're at a movie. Someone sitting next to you is going, "What's going on?" And you're just like, "Well, they told you what's going on. Like, why are you not watching?" So
yeah,
that's my life, Jake. But thanks for doing the podcast again, man.
Thanks for having me. I feel like we sort of wound it down here at the end, but I feel like that's okay. It was a pleasure. It's great to see you, Joe. I missed you. It was such a treat to hear that I was going to get to be talking to you.
Yeah, I have a gig that I want to book you on. We'll talk about that in California that you could go do on a Saturday. That'll probably be like one of those nice little gigs that we talked about earlier. That's local and nice people on a Saturday night if you have one free.
Okay, yeah, I'd love to do that. So why don't can we talk about that maybe tomorrow? Because I got to go. I got to get my daughter.
We don't want to put that in this podcast. Who cares?
Yeah.
What do you want to plug? What gig do you doing this week or next week?
Oh, what gig? I've got my little calendar here. What am I doing? I'm going to Zany's in Chicago.
Nice.
The 5th through the 7th of November. And I'm doing a gig in Milwaukee at the Pabst Theater on the 27th. That's the Friday after Thanksgiving in Milwaukee. And then I'm going to be at the Hollywood Improv on that 28th. And I'm going to Portland and Indianapolis and Irvine before the other. People can go to my website, jakethis.com, and they can look at all that stuff.
Well, thanks, dude. Tell your daughter I said hi, and it was great having you again.
Yeah, my pleasure.
All right, dude. We'll talk tomorrow.
Yes.
Later.
Perfect. All right. See you, Joe.
See you. It's always hard hanging up on Skype. That was the great Jake Johannsen. I hope we were engaging. I hope you were able to follow the whole conversation. That's how it works when you Skype a podcast. I hope it sounded good. I hope it was you learned something from that. Let's just get to my plugs one more time right here at the end. If you want to donate to Fixing Joe, go to joematarese.com. I told you at the beginning, I'm going to tell you again. Now you can get 4 of my CDs. For $20, you get 2 of my CDs. For the $20 donation, you get downloads sent to you, and you also get a pair of Tweaked Audio earbuds, my podcast sponsor. They throw that in. You get those for the $20. For $30, you get 3 of my CDs, which I've done in my illustrious comedy career. And for $40, you get 4 of my CDs. All 4 CDs. The first one is called Quiet Please. The second one is called Fixing Joe. The third one is called Disconnected. And the fourth one, which Jake talked about, is called When a Comedian Attacks. That's the All Heckler CD. So donate the 40. That would really help me out. Then I'll send you the 4 CDs and you get the Tweaked Audio earbuds. Okay? Follow me on Twitter. We got to get that up to 10,000 so I can sell the special at the Joe Matarese. And if you want to come and see me live this week, I will be at the Laughing Skull in Atlanta, Georgia. Like Jake and I said, we love this club. It's great, it's small, it's intimate, amazing food in the Vortex there. Come on out, Atlanta people. October 22nd through the 25th. I'll be there all the way Thursday through Sunday, flying home on Monday. And if you want to come and see me open for Bill Barra, that'll be on November 6th at the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia. Okay? All right. Not sure where the gig is on the 7th. What the name of it is. I know I'll be in Coatesville, Pennsylvania, the day after I open for Barra, November 7th. Okay? I hope by me trying to fix me, I help you fix you a little bit. I love my wife. I love my kids. And keep downloading the podcast. Tell your friends. Okay? Have a great rest of your week. See you later.